Greetings, First Presbyterian family. Today is Thursday. I hope you've been having a good week. Earlier today, I started the Bible study, and lo and behold, this was also the grass cutting day and the blowing away of the leaves day. And I heard all that commotion outside the library, so about halfway through I realized could not do it. Had to start all over again. Sometimes Thursdays can be a start all over again day. The week starts Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, you're doing things. Something maybe not too good happens on the front end of the week. But I think that Thursday you can start looking towards part two. And if this week has not gotten off to a good start for you, think of today as the day to start part two and go forward. One announcement, this Sunday we will be back in the sanctuary. It's our third Sunday of doing this. 3 services, 8:30, 9:45, and 11 o'clock. Please make a reservation. You will have a place for you to sit. And we worked some bugs out with the starting process from our first Sunday. We worked all that out last week. Had a really, I thought, smooth process as people came, being escorted to their seats, placed. The bulletin is there. Each service concluded, cleanup was done, and another group entered. And it really went smoothly last week. So anticipating the same this go-round. The Back to Church Task Force met again by Zoom. Again, we look at what is happening in our community, observing what other churches are doing, looking what's going to be a good practice for us, listening to feedback from church members, and decided that for the next few Sundays, we would not have an ensemble choir. In place of the anthem, there'll be a 4th hymn to sing. Ben Clifton will be there, and he will be directing all of us as his choir for that given day as we sing at that point. We will also be singing the introit and the response. So ask everybody to mask. You may have a specific condition, medical condition that prohibits it. Understand that, but please, unless there's a situation like that presenting itself, we do ask everybody to mask. I'll be masking as I sing, and we'll get through all of this together. Again, some of you are still not comfortable being here. We respect that, and we will have this recorded for YouTube. We had a scheduling glitch last week that it led the service for the 14th going out late, but we should be on track. Early, middle of Sunday afternoon, the service should be available. The 9:45 service will be recorded. I want to go right into the study. We are in Philippians in chapter 2, verses 14 through 18. This is a follow-up as Paul is speaking to the people and really speaking about their guidance, their behavior in light of the relationship that he has between them. Keep in mind, Paul has a very good, strong relationship with this congregation. As I've shared the last several weeks, this is one big thank you note that he is writing to the people. And of course, he has lots of time to write because he's under house arrest at this point, or he actually is in prison. He's got somebody chained with him. He speaks of his condition and kind of offers words of encouragement. It's a congregation that we believe is basically doing well. No congregation is perfect, but this one is actually doing well, and they're an A grade or A minus grade congregation. So his words to them are more cautions, more critiques. Maybe you have you're doing well at your job, and when they do the employee evaluation, they say, well, really, we're very, very pleased with your work. Here's an area for where you could improve. And they say it, they present it. Yes, we need to improve, but it's not a pressing issue. It's just how you can do better. And there's a hint in the congregation that there's some jockeying for position, and there's a little bit of strife, not to the point of full-blown controversy, but just a little bit beneath the surface. And he challenges them about the humility, the example of humility shown in Christ, how they should treat one another, how they should conduct themselves in the world, how God is at work in them. He calls them to work out their salvation, but making it very clear that God's at work in you. Continue to pursue what God is doing in your life. And that's where we left it last week, emphasis there. This is how it finishes out this particular section. This Thursday, I am reading from today's English version. Do everything without complaining or arguing, so that you may be innocent and pure as God's perfect children who live in a world of corrupt and sinful people. You must shine among them like stars lighting up the sky as you offer them the message of life. If you do so, I shall have reason to be proud of you on the day of Christ, because it will show that all my effort and work have not been wasted. Perhaps my life's blood is to be poured out like an offering on the sacrifice that your faith offers to God. If that is so, I am glad and share my joy with you all. In the same way, you too must be glad and share your joy with me. Calling them to do everything without complaining or arguing. Sometimes complaining is rendered as murmuring. It's particularly interesting he chose that word there. It was the same word, his Greek word was used in the Greek translation of the Old Testament when it talked about the people in the wilderness were complaining, were murmuring, were whining. Again, that's often the story, Leviticus, Numbers. They are in the wilderness. There are challenges there, and the people murmur. Now, around 200 BC, the Jewish community living in Alexandria, living in Egypt, was Greek-speaking. That's what they did. That was the big language of that part of the world. Wherever you went, people were speaking Greek, and many people adopting it. And they wanted the scriptures in the Greek language. And so it was translated. That's the Septuagint. 72 people were in charge of it. It was 70, comes from the word for 70. And that would have been the scriptures that Paul would have grown up hearing as a child as a Greek-speaking Jew. That was his first language. Obviously learned to speak Hebrew later, but the home language for him, the one that was most natural to him, was Greek. And that's the word that was used then, the word that he uses now. So that you may be innocent and pure. He calls them in a world that is corrupt and sinful. Now I thought it was interesting doing these pairs, innocent, pure, corrupt, sinful. Be as God's perfect children. You must shine among them like stars lighting up the sky. So again, how do you act like God's children? Being innocent, pure. Do everything without grumbling or complaining or whining. The contrast to the world is the corrupt and sinful. And in that, you must be the shining stars. Again, I think of an evening. It's kind of hard to really see the stars here, but if you were to go out, drive way out into the country, find a place where you could park off the side of the road, particularly in the winter, but to be out in the country and then to look up at the stars. If it was a point where the moon had not risen, it had already set, or the moonrise was to come later, or it's the time when there is always the moon in the sky, but visually we cannot see it. That would be fascinating to look at that. I remember as a child being out in the woods in South Carolina and just looking up into the sky and seeing stars, amazing amount of stars that I saw. We lived in Charlotte. We had stars in Charlotte, but the city lights blocked out so much. It's a place you could even see the Milky Way. But think of that in a world that's very dark. Now, it's not like moonlight. It's not like sunlight. But the way it stands out, that is the way we're called to stand out in the world. He challenges from there, again, to living that way, and says, perhaps my life's blood is to be poured out like an offering on the sacrifice your faith offers to God. He's very clear that his life, his ministry, is an offering, and it could end in death. And it did end in death when he was executed some years later. I've given my life to you. I want to make sure that what I've done, it was not in vain, that I've not run as somebody who had no goal, no objective, just kind of running around in a circle. I want to know that what I've given is an offering and that it matters to you because they are partners. So see of it as first as the call to how they live. Second, pointing out that my work with you was not in vain, though I might be poured out as an offering. And the theme of partnership. That's the third point to emphasize here. Throughout this, he sees them as partners. We're a team. We don't have a conflict one to the other. And very much sees their success connected with his, in the same way that a teacher sees his or her students down the years working and developing, how they turn out in life. It's been interesting the last several years being on Facebook and being Facebook friends with some of my high school teachers and middle school. And I remember one particular teacher saying, we knew you as high school students, and what a joy it is seeing you all now as adults, raising your own families, being part in your community. Labor was not in vain. It's a reminder to us as we are investing in other people. We are all, and it takes a whole group of folks, but we are all investing in others. Those younger ones coming up, the people around us. Their success to a degree is our success. Have we labored well with these other people? It's a challenge to you and to me. How am I investing in the lives of others? It's also a reminder to say, who has invested in me? And to remember and to give thanks. I think of those teachers from way back when. I'm going all back. I'm thinking first grade. I'm even thinking kindergarten, even though in my day kindergarten was very different than it was done now. It was just different. But all of those who had that investment, and to be remembering and to give thanks. That's the challenge for you and for me as we're investing in others, to labor in such a way that it's not in vain. And remember those who've labored for us. It is a partnership. We'll return to this chapter next week. Thank you.